It was a cold day. It was raining. The sky was gray. It was pretty dreary, not gonna lie. It was the perfect mood to watch Morbius. If you've been online anywhere for the past month, you've probably encountered someone going like, Morbius sweep, hashtag Morbius sweep, it's gonna make $1 trillion, but the truth is not many people cared about this movie. I walked into this movie theater and I was alone. It took a while and then eventually like 7 people came in. And so we just sat there and prepared ourselves to watch the movie. This movie that at the time had like, 16-19% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was pretty much critically blasted, and I was ready to have my preconceptions about this movie be confirmed true. But when I came out of the theater, I kind of realized that actually it's not that bad. Well, I mean, okay, it's bad, but it's not like trash. I mean, like, okay, it's hard to explain because, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's relatively competent. That's kind of the status quo for superhero movies at the time. And with Morbius out, it kind of does things a little differently. It reminds me of, the Venom movies that Sony makes, old 2000s films. It reminds me of that. It has that tone. And to be honest, that tone has always been kind of refreshing to me, and it's always been kind of nice to enjoy. I think the movie's better than the first Venom. I don't know about the second one, but it's definitely better than the first one. And there's a lot actually in this movie that I found quite enjoyable. For the most part, it plays things very seriously. Like, it has fun with itself, but it takes itself kind of seriously. Like, there's the scene where this, doctor, whatever, dies, and I like how that was handled, how they managed to do that. It's probably done before, but I liked it. I thought it was fine. And when I came out of the movie, that was my thought. The movie was fine. It had a start, a middle, and an ending. It didn't do anything terribly, but it didn't do anything really that competently. It just kind of exists, and it's harmless. But what I feel made this movie already kind of start off on a bad note with people was how Sony framed this movie. This movie was framed by Sony as like, oh, a Marvel legend is joining the cinematic universe. Oh, Spider-Man is gonna be in this movie. Vulture is gonna be in this movie. They advertised this movie as like this must-watch because it's connected to the universe, and that's the only reason you should watch it, really. There's so much in this movie that is its own story. The villain of this movie is better than any of the villains in the Venom movies. Much better than like friggin', I don't know, Ronan from Guardians of the Galaxy. Matt Smith, Milo, the villain of this movie, is incredibly good. I quite appreciated the villain's connection to the lead. It had a very old school superhero kind of vibe, and I quite appreciated that. And there's a lot in this movie that can actually be appreciated. There's a lot of stupid in this movie, like the fact that Dr. Michael Morbius made artificial blood in the first maybe 5 minutes of this movie, so he doesn't have to deal with the fact that he has to constantly consume human blood. Like, oh no, the effects that artificial blood have on my body is like wearing out and I have to eventually drink human blood. That's basically one of the conflicts of this movie. But at the same time, it's like they wrote in artificial blood just so he wouldn't have to constantly be sucking the blood out of people. And actually, side note, does he have to drink human blood? Like, it's human, right? He has to drink human blood? Maybe I wasn't paying attention, but at the beginning I thought that the bats he took from this cave were able to kill any living creature. It doesn't necessarily have to be humans? I don't know why it's specifically human blood. There's like 1 trillion rats in New York. Can he just eat some rats? I don't know. But whatever. The thing is that Morbius ultimately is a very mediocre movie with not much to say. And that's the biggest issue I have. It's just kind of there, And at the beginning, what bothered me about this movie was, oh my god, it's going to be so disastrously bad that I can't believe it's going to be tied to Spider-Man in the MCU. Because the after credit scenes got leaked and they were just so dumb, like it made no sense. And I was like, oh my god, this movie's awful, why would they tie MCU Spider-Man to this? But then I watched the movie and it's like the most harmless movie of all time. In the trailers, they kept hyping up Michael Keaton constantly, and he's not even in the story of the movie. He just calls him up for some reason and wants to beat Spider-Man's ass. It's so confusing. Honestly, if they wanted to, they could just scrap the post-credits scene and it's whatever. Oh, multiverse of madness, some bullshit happens, and Morbius can just continue vibing with Venom. The director, Daniel Espinosa, had to constantly rework scenes, and he didn't know how No Way Home ended, so they had to redo Michael Keaton's scenes. I think that the final scene, the Vulture scene, wasn't added super last minute. I think that is like the one scene that was more so kind of scripted since the beginning. And the reason why is because of the CG. It's just too nice looking. So if anything, they dubbed over Michael Keaton's lines in this scene and they cut down like all of Jared Leto's lines as Morbius, and then that's what they ran with. Ultimately though, I just can't really seem to care about this movie too much. Jared Leto is freaking weird, and I just don't like him. Espinosa, I think in an interview was like, yeah, this dude decided to just always walk with crutches 24/7 and it made shit impossible. Jared, you can fucking act. Please act. What is this method acting?
Now, how about the gifts you gave everyone?
Yeah.
Rats, bullets.
Don't forget the anal beads, the used condoms. Yeah.
And then that reminds me of how Robert Pattinson is like, yeah, whenever people method act, they method act like terrible people. They never method act good people. I don't know. I understand wanting to get in the headspace of your character, but when it starts making people around you uncomfortable, or it prevents people from doing their job, it prevents you from doing your job, then I don't know. I don't know if it's like a good thing to do. The movie has scenes where there's supposed to be extreme violence, but there's no blood at all. There's a whole scene that Sony just put on YouTube, Morbius's first transformation, and in the scene there's basically no blood, and in the final scene there is also no blood. There's only blood on the floor and stuff. It feels neutered. There's a part in the movie where Morbius slashes a guy's throat and he's like, you know, and he's freaking out and bleeding, except he's not bleeding, and he's just holding his neck as if like a ton of blood is supposed to be spurting out, but nothing is coming out. It's so funny. This movie has been an absolute disaster to watch unfold. It made a decent amount of money in the box office though. I'm pretty sure it already made its money back, but yeah, I'm not clamoring for a Morbius 2. I don't really ever care about seeing this character. I don't even really care about him in the comics. I find him kind of whatever. We're just gonna have to wait and see what happens with Spider-Man in the MCU, because his Sinister Six seems to be forming in Venom's universe. Oh, and also I'm pretty sure Daniel Espinosa, maybe I'm wrong, but I think he said that there's a Spider-Man in every universe. There's like a spider totem. And so I'm just thinking, there's always been a Spider-Man during the Venom movies? Wait a second, so what if they make these Sinister Six villains fight Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man? You might think that's cool, except it's dumb as shit, because none of the characters have any attachment to Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man. I honestly have no idea what the plan is. I'm not excited for future Sony movies. Not anymore. Like, I thought Sony was getting their shit together, but I guess not. I'm starting to think that Spider-Verse as a movie is one of the best but also worst things to happen to Spider-Man, because now it feels like they're just pushing Spider-Verse, multiverse fucking everywhere, and the movie also just ends. It's almost as if they had scenes that they wanted to put in, but they were all scrapped. It's odd. Straight up, Morbius beats the villain, and I'm not joking, 1 minute later, the movie ends. It's just a minute. It's like a minute, and the movie just ends, and then it's end credits. And by the way, the end credits sequence and the title sequence are brilliant. I love how they look, but man, I wish they were in a better movie, because this movie just randomly decides to stop. And it's so weird. But yeah, that's friggin' Morbius. I have no way of ending this video. I don't even have closing thoughts. I just think Morbius exists. Hashtag Morbius exists. It's not even hashtag Morbius sweep anymore. And yeah, I think that's it. Thanks so much everyone for watching the video. Make sure to check out Interstellar Ranger Commence's first episode, which is now on the Browntable YouTube channel. Thanks so much Akachi for this portrait of me. It looks fucking awesome. I really do be looking like that, and I do be saying yes a lot, so thank you very much. Thanks so much patrons for supporting the channel. Y'all are friggin' awesome as always. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to become part of the Chad Nation. Thanks so much everyone for watching the video, and I hope you come back to the table.
どうしようもなくちっぽけに思えた昨日着飾った誰かの気休めは